Hey guys, welcome back to our channel, Ethereal Art Studio, where I'm an artist, you're an artist, we are all artists. Today I'm asking you to join me, juanscribe, in painting in homage to a great horror classic. We're going to be painting Leatherface from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So here we have our handcrafted easel. The link on how to make one is right up here. We'll be using that. Here I have my canvas. You can use any size whatsoever. And we're gonna get started with some shamrock green. Now of course, whatever green you may have at hand will do. And I'm gonna use this and also a 3/4 flat brush to paint across the canvas at a slight angle. So it's slightly slanted. This is the terrain in back of Leatherface, and it's green. It's very simple. You fill it all in, make this horizon a little bit sharp. Before we move on to some white and a number 10 flat, or whatever size you have around there. We use a little bit of white and we start painting the sun. So the sun is very bright in the center, it's white, and you start trying to expand it. Make it about the size of a lemon before you then move on to a little bit of yellow. You don't have to wash the brush in this instance, and you make a creamy yellow to continue the sunlight, the brightness. So now let's go back to the big brush that we had. I had a 3/4 flat, whatever you might have that's, around that size. And it's basically the brush that we started off with in the beginning. I washed it, and now I'm mixing yellow with just a little bit of white. This time the yellow is stronger. Okay, I want it to be much brighter and stronger. And I'm continuing the same trend, which is basically expanding the light, into the sky. So now let's add some yellow without any white in it. Let's add just straight up yellow to the canvas to continue the same sun that's expanding, that is very bright. We make this horizon nice and sharp by pressing firmly. Oh, and while I have your attention, don't forget to like the video, don't forget to leave a comment, and please subscribe to our channel. You don't want to miss the awesome tutorials like this one that we have for you. Awesome fan art and time lapses. So make sure you also hit the notification button to stay up to date on our awesome videos. And now let's add a little bit of red to our palette. We take just a tiny bit of it because it's so strong, mix it with some yellow to make a nice orangey color, and we continue the same trend. Now, as you can see, it's noticeably different, right? We're gonna reconcile the two colors soon, but for now we're just continuing the same trend. Okay, to better merge the two colors, you take a little bit of the weaker color, which is yellow, and you use that to softly blend those two colors. And here we're going even darker, adding a little bit more red to that orange mix, and continuing the same pattern, filling up the rest of the sky. Okay guys, let's make orange again. We use yellow and just a little bit of red, and then we're going to use a fan brush, if you have one, or whatever brush you may have. We're going to add some grass to this field. Now, the only rule is that the grass that's farthest away from us, right, closer to the horizon, closest to the sun, is kind of smaller. It's a little bit thinner, and the one that the grass that is closer to us gets broader. You could play around with this grass, make some areas a little bit darker than others, add yellow, make some of the grass yellow, some of it orange. But as long as you make the grass that is closest to us thicker, broader, by pressing more hard on the canvas, it should be fine. Here with my big brush again, I'm going to darken these corners of the sky, make them a little redder, more striking, make the painting just a little bit more eye-catching. Okay, so now I'm going to mix black and some of that green that I used, and I'm going to use my same 3/4 big brush. I washed it, and I'm going to use that to add some shadows to this grass, to this field. So I use it at an angle, as you can see, kind of like a blade, and I start just dabbing on some dark areas to create, some shadow, make it more interesting, add character to the painting. And speaking of characters, I wanted to talk about this incredible character of Leatherface, right? So created by Henkel and Tobe Hooper, and first appearing in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 1974, which this painting is based on. It is said that he was based on a real-life evil person called Ed Gein, and some of the crazy aspects of the story are based on that actual person. So this Leatherface that we're going to paint today is based on the first portrayal of him in 1974 by Gunnar Hansen. So what about you guys? Who is your favorite Leatherface? Who has put in the finest performance when playing this premium boogeyman? Is it the original from 1974? Or do you prefer Leatherface in the 2003 sequel, remake I mean? Or is it the new Leatherface from the Netflix Texas Chainsaw Massacre sequel, which just came out? Or is it Leatherface from any of the films in between? Let us know in the comments section. Comment on who is your favorite Leatherface and which is your favorite The Texas Chainsaw Massacre film. Okay, so let's make a creamy yellow again. So we're going to make a creamy yellow by adding white and a little bit of yellow to make a pastel yellow, once again, very bright. And we're going to use our fan brush again. And we're going to lighten up some of the grass that is, in front of that sun, because there's light hitting it, it's very bright, there's a lot of light reflecting on those blades of grass. We want to show a little bit of realism. Okay, so I washed the fan brush, and I'm going to add a little bit of red hints to the grass as well, just in a little bit of some of the areas over here. Okay, it's just some of that dark red sky that is also playing a part in the reflection on the floor, on the grass. And then we're going to move on to something really fun. So I'm going to use my number 10, which is a small to medium-sized brush, number 10 flat, and I'm going to use black paint. I watered it down just a little bit, and I'm going to use it to make these little shrubs, these little bushes that are, coming off of the canvas from the bottom up. So they literally branch out from a common trunk, right? You start at the trunk and then you move the brush up and then you depart from those trunks, from the branches, to literally branch out. Now onto an even smaller brush. This is a number 6 pointy brush, a very small brush, and I'm adding even smaller branches out of those limbs, coming out of those limbs. And here's the opposite side of the canvas. I move back to my medium brush, my number 10 flat, and add some shrubs to this side as well. Here I'm using the number 10 flat, but then I'll move on in a couple of seconds to my number 6 pointy brush, the small brush, to add tiny little branches coming out of these branches. Okay, and back to the medium brush once again. I'm gonna add some little leaves onto these bushes over here. Just barely kissing the canvas with the brush, barely touching it. They're very small. They're not prominent at all. And I'm gonna add some here and there to the tops of these bushes. But when I get to the bushes that are directly in front of that sun, I want to wipe off most of the paint so that those leaves will be barely visible. They'll be light because of the light behind them, right? All that glare. Now back to some darker leaves on this side of the canvas. Okay, and now on to Leatherface. So here I have black paint. I add just a tiny bit of water to it to make it a little softer, a little bit easier to use. And now I'm going to start with his head. I'm going to paint his head, and I'm gonna paint it at a slight angle to the right. Then I'm gonna make a line that goes from his head to the bottom of the canvas. And then I'm gonna make a line for where his shoulders are. Then a line from that shoulder to his left elbow, and then from the shoulder to the right elbow, then up the right arm to his forearm. Same thing for the left arm. The left arm looks longer because it's closer to us. Here I'm painting the outline of his suit jacket. We paint it, flapping in the wind, and we fill it all in. Black paint. We want these lines to be nice and crisp, press firmly. If you need to give the second coat once it dries, then yes, definitely. This is his legs now. Now I'm gonna start adding some meat to his arms over here to make them a lot more prominent, a lot more imposing, right? He's a big guy, right? He's a big, scary guy. So now his left arm, and I want you to follow along with me. I want you to have a good time though. Here I'm adding some more substance to him, filling in some of where his shoulders are. And I'm gonna add his fists, his hands, before we move on to Leatherface's mythical weapon, the legendary Excalibur chainsaw. Okay, so as you saw, I angled the chainsaw a little bit, made some straighter lines on it. And now I'm adding with that small brush, the number 6 small brush that I have, I'm adding his shaggy mane. Okay, and I'm also gonna add all sorts of little details that you'll see to make to add a sense of realism, to make you know, these lines of him look a little bit more natural, more realistic. Here is his sleeve, for example. Fill in most of him with a second coat of black paint. And follow along with me, please, as we add more details to him again to make it look more realistic. And we're going to be moving between brushes. As you can see, this is the number 10 flat that I have. I'm making his coat wider. And now here's the number 6 small brush to make his outline just more realistic with less straight lines. Okay, here I use my number 10 brush again to make a color that is a mixture of yellow, white, and a little bit of black to make Leatherface's face, which is not really his face, right? And also his body over here. So then let's wash our brush and add some black to our medium brushes, and let's cut off some of this, some of his face, so that it could be at an angle. We're also adding black to make his tie, and also add some shadow to his sides over here. Then let's wash our medium brush again, dry it really well, and then use some of that green to add, you know, some light hitting the chainsaw. And now black paint and a very small brush to add the features on his mask. And a little bit of green, just a little bit, rub it on there, on the blade of his chainsaw. Wash the brush, dry it really well. Then a little bit of yellow to add some light hitting, you know, his face. After this, we're gonna do something really cool. We're gonna make the sunlight shining right behind Leatherface and peering out. So I have my small brush, I add some white, make a tiny little circle over here. Then add a little bit of yellow to the mixture and add some yellow light right after the white circle. Then a little bit of red. It'll mix with the yellow there. So you mix it on the canvas, blur it, mix it, blend it. Then some orange again. Now I'm onto the number 10 brush to spread that orange paint in a circular motion. So what we're doing is we're adding the glare from the sun. Now I added more red to the mix. And the red is pretty strong. Okay, so let's add a drop or two to some orange that we might have here. And dab it off so that it won't be too wet and cooking. We add just some hints of orange, or reddish orange, to Leatherface here and there. Because, you know, the whole environment is very orange and red, right? So naturally there's some on him too, some of that glare, some of those lights hitting him from all over the place. And after this, you can sign your painting or write any text on it that you want. But make sure you clap for yourself. You worked so hard on it, and I applaud you. Thanks so much for watching our video. Thank you for your support. Check out all of our other videos on YouTube. Also, check out our Etsy store where all our artwork and sculptures are ready to be purchased. The link is in the description. And also check out etherealartsstudio.com.